Mark Anderson, a longtime resident of Detroit and a self-proclaimed car enthusiast, was deeply troubled by President Biden's latest policy push for electric cars. As he sipped his morning coffee at the local diner, he couldn't help but express his frustration to his friends gathered around the table. "You know," Mark began, setting his cup down with a determined thud, "I just don't get this obsession with electric cars. Biden's policies are pushing for every car on the road to be electric by 2035. What does he think we're going to do, throw away all our gas-powered vehicles overnight?" His friend Joe nodded in agreement, adjusting his cap. "Yeah, it's like they think everyone can just afford to switch. I work at the factory and we barely get by. I can't even imagine how I'd come up with the money for a brand new electric car." "Exactly," Mark exclaimed. "And what about the jobs? Detroit's built on the auto industry, and I'm worried this shift is going to put a lot of people out of work. The electric car industry just doesn't need as many people to build these vehicles." Sue, the waitress who had been listening in, chimed in as she refilled their coffee. "I heard they're saying it's better for the environment, but what about all the mining for those batteries? That can't be good for the planet either." Mark sighed, nodding. "Sure, it's good to think about the environment, but there's got to be a better way to do it. We can't just ignore the impact this is going to have on people's lives and livelihoods. We need a balanced approach, something that helps the environment without destroying our economy and way of life." Joe leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "Maybe if they invested more in making the transition easier, like subsidies or retraining programs for workers, it might not be so bad, but right now it feels like they're just throwing us to the wolves." Mark's eyes lit up with a spark of determination. "You're right, Joe. We need to speak up. Let them know what it's like on the ground. Maybe then they'll realize they need to support us through this transition, not just push policies from their offices in Washington." As the group continued their discussion, it became clear that while they weren't entirely opposed to electric cars, they felt the current policies lacked the necessary support for average Americans like themselves. They hoped that by raising their voices, they could bring about a more considerate approach to this significant change. Trump's ideology on electric cars generally emphasized skepticism toward government mandates and subsidies, advocating instead for a free market approach where consumer choice and industry innovation drive the adoption of new technologies. Given Trump's ideology on electric cars, which emphasizes a free market approach and consumer choice over government mandates, a vote for him is a vote for economic empowerment. Comment and share the video if you want more insightful, politically motivated science topics. I appreciate your support.